Hello everyone, and welcome to a new experiment, so to say. We did an article about a week ago asking for your questions, and now we're going to take some time to answer them and to discuss the current state of this fandom, if you want to call it that, of this franchise, and what we're going to do in the future with our site. I am founder and writer Skundi of Funtasia Daily.
And I am his employee, so to say, Zechgar, who also writes for Funtasia Daily. And most likely you know me from my Twitter, where I post daily random stuff.
I recommend everyone to follow it. It's much more fruitful than following my Twitter, where I basically post nothing.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry about that. I keep telling myself I should be more active.
Yeah, we really want to post things, but we can't because there's nothing to post.
Yeah. That should be our first topic of discussion, it feels like, because that's what one usually starts with when one runs something like this, by discussing news, so to say.
Yeah, news.
Yeah.
It's the 6th of November 2016. The October has passed, and this is the first October with absolutely nothing about Funtasia.
The last one would have been in 2012, I believe, or was there any news in 2012? I'm not sure now.
I think I remember reading something about an announcement that they're going to do a Philly show, but without names or anything.
Yeah, on a second thought, that does sound correct. I think in 2012 they just announced the show itself, but did not show anything. They may possibly have shown what we call Promo 2, which is actually earlier than Promo 1, according to all evidence we have now, which means that maybe it should be called Promo 0 or something, I don't know. But yeah, they may have shown that in 2012, which would make this the first year since 2011 when they don't show Philly Funtasia.
Oh my, 2011.
That's a long time.
That's the year when the original Skyrim came out.
Damn.
Which feels like it was yesterday, but it was actually 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost exactly 5 years ago, actually.
That is crazy. That is very, very crazy. So, yeah, there's not really any news, so to say. Instead, the news that there is that information is being removed.
Yeah, BRB and the websites that they own, I guess.
Yeah. Or their subsidiaries or their own companies. I'm not completely sure what the relationship between BRB and Apollo Films is. I assume they own them, though I'm not completely sure.
I suspect they are all just the same company with different names.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably there's probably some kind of subsidiary thing going on, like they're completely owned by BRB, and yeah, for whatever reason they're separate companies. That's a very common thing, but functionally they would be the same company.
Yep.
the difference wouldn't really matter.
Yeah, so the grand empire of BRB lately has started to remove all Philly Funtasia information from their websites. Gradually, I might add. It's like at first they made the Philly Funtasia page on their own website. I think they made it private.
Yep. Or
Then,
restricted.
yeah, then they removed the link to Philly Funtasia from Apollo Films website. Then we wrote about it, made a list of places where you can still find Philly Funtasia, and they are slowly going through that list, apparently, because Philly Funtasia is gone from Screen 21.
Yeah. A funny fact about that, I think I mentioned that in the article, but I actually sent 2 emails after the last round of removal to Screen 21. One of them was to Screen 21's information address, and the other one was to a person at Screen 21 that I have been in contact with previously, and by previously I mean years ago. And I'm not sure if it's related, but after I sent those emails, it was deleted from their website. I'm thinking maybe I just alerted them to the fact that, oh shit, we still have this on our website.
Yeah, we're promoting a show that may or may not be coming out.
Better remove
Ever.
it quick.
Yeah. At the time of recording, let me check their Twitter. Because they still have Philly Funtasia in their header image. Yep. There's still Smiling Rose on their Twitter, on BRB International Twitter. So who knows? Maybe in 2 weeks she will be gone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that it's slightly more difficult to remove that because you have to get some graphic designer to make an entirely new top bar.
Yeah.
We made a little joke about maybe they should just scribble out Rose's face.
Yeah, just remove it. Replace it with some other show.
Or just open up a paint and just to take the black brush and just scribble it out. Be gone.
Yep.
Now it's like it's never been there.
And it will generate hype, because people will look at it and say, who is that? I want to know more, and then they will come to us, and we'll tell them.
Yes. Hello everyone, this is what it was.
But yeah, we somehow managed to write 14 articles in 2 weeks.
That's pretty crazy.
Mostly about Philly itself, because Philly itself is still alive. That's good.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah. I'm waiting.
No, I think the toys are fine, really.
They're successful.
Yeah.
And they keep being successful. And even though the creator left, well, she left before Royale came out, or Royale came out, and Royale still happened.
Yeah.
And some new edition of Mermaids also came out. So we'll see.
I'm not sure if she's still at Blue Ocean at this point. I know that she did some of their comics, I believe.
Oh yeah, her website was updated like this week or previous week, and it says that she writes at least for film Mermaids.
That's good.
Yeah, but we're here to answer some questions.
Yes.
That our fans asked us a week ago or so.
It's true.
And we have, let's see, we have 3 questions. Or rather, well, 3 posts with questions.
Yep. And I guess we should begin from the top up, so to say.
Yep. The first question comes from Greyfeather, and he says that it would be nice for us to discuss magazines and comics of Philly, and explain the toy-cartoon setting and some backstory about the characters.
I think we already began a little bit by discussing the comics here, but I think it's very notable that the creators of Philly, both in terms that the main designer is actually working on the comics right now, and in general they seem quite involved in the comics. I like that.
Yeah, I actually read the comics. I have a pile of comic books right here. They're in Russian, of course, but they're still official. They're just localized, and it's pretty amazing. It's like you have one comic book per month, and they usually tell a very small story. It's like, here are the Phillies. They have a problem or something. They solve the problem, and that's the end. But when Philly Stars synopsis was leaked, it had instructions on how to construct each comic book. It's like focus some attention on this family or that family, include that character, and after comparing these instructions to what actually came out, well, there are differences, of course, but we can see that every comic issue tries to do something on its own. It's like you have 12 comics, and each of them has to do something unique. And I think they do it pretty well, actually, even though it's not really a spectacular overarching story.
I believe that in that the synopsis leak that you're describing, by the way, that's the way we found out about that one is just absolutely hilarious.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
They put it on the Stars website on the listings for the Zodiac pets. They had like January, February, March, blah 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 blah, and instead of having the actual descriptions, they had synopses for the Philly magazine for those months instead.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. I remember that.
Amazing. How could you make that mistake? Oh my god.
But it was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah. It's that's still mind-blowing to this day. But yeah, what was I going to say? I was going to talk a little. Oh yeah, but because the first part of the synopsis that's described in that leak is the transition between the stars and the butterflies, or rather the butterflies and the stars, and that's kind of interesting because here we see world building in the comics in a way that I don't think is as prominent in the earlier comics. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, I have a couple of issues from Unicorn and a lot from Witchy, and none of them ever done that. It's like the comic book about stars starts by describing a previous toy line, and it kind of transitions from one to the other, and I think that's a unique thing. I don't think they did it for Royale or Royale.
No, I don't really have them, but I don't think they did that either.
But yeah, the question also was about the relationship between the toy canon and the cartoon canon, which is an interesting question because we barely even have any cartoon canon details on us.
Yeah, what we basically can do is look at what we have and try to make extrapolations from that. And what we do see is that we have a lot of toy characters reused in the cartoon, first of all, but not always in the same role, so to say. I mean, the most obvious examples is, first of all, the headmistress Sparkle, who is the princess of Philly Unicorn, who is
Yeah,
have now forsaken her royal duties and is in Funtasia to teach Phyllis. I'm not quite sure why. I'm assuming that this will be explained in the show, or maybe I should say would be explained in the show.
oh.
Um,
Well, yeah, because Sparkle in Philly Unicorn is responsible for, uh, well, for maintaining the rainbow bridges between the islands. It's like they are generated by a magic crystal, but this crystal slowly wears off with time, and Sparkle has to polish it and renew it. And since she's gone, that crystal will, well, there's nobody to take care of it, and Crystalia.
they will be trapped on their islands.
Yeah, but, well, they have hot air balloons there, but
Their daily commute will be impacted.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe she assigned someone to keep an eye on the crystal. Maybe, I don't know, some your one of your family, because if you look at the special Phyllis list, there are Phyllis who are related to her and to Jewel from Elves. So maybe
One of
the
them.
point, yeah, the point is these things can be explained. It's just, well,
We don't know what the explanation is because
yeah,
we've never gotten to that point. I mean, they have been pretty good at their world building, so I'm assuming that there is some kind of explanation. It's just that we don't have it yet because the cartoon hasn't arrived yet.
Yeah.
And speaking about Sparkle, I should also mention that in some of our very very early articles, well, back when it was just me writing, we didn't quite know a lot about the setting. So I actually had an article, I think it was back in 2013, where I said that oh shit, this Crystella thing, it might be the setting of Funtasia, because it
Yeah.
wasn't clear at that point that Crystalia and Funtasia were two different places. So we speculated that this was just a renaming of Crystalia,
Well,
because
yeah, because why?
because it looked the same, because it had sparkle in it, obviously, and it was on a floating island, and it had rainbow bridges, and it looked very similar in many ways.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting point, because I don't know if we knew back then that Fantasia was a floating island. Was it described somewhere?
Um, I'm not sure if it was explicitly described somewhere already back in 2013. I think I may just have made that conclusion by observing. I mean, it looks in the zoom out shots, it does look like a floating island, though it's not completely sure. It could just be like an elevated platform or something, because you see that the land trails off and there's not really any water beyond it. And also there's a bunch of clouds everywhere and stuff. So I think it's basically because of that we assumed right away that it's a floating island.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because I didn't think about the horizon all that much. I thought that was just the limitations of the graphics. It's like they put down some mountains and said, oh yeah, that's mountains, and
Oh,
there's something beyond them, I guess.
oh, if that was a graphics limitations, that would be so ugly.
Yeah, but well, it is a floating island, as it turns out.
Yeah.
And we can actually judge its size somewhat. It's like, I think we saw some things that may look like the edges of that island from different perspectives, like on that butterfly image.
Oh yeah.
The Lion King cliffs.
The Lion King cliffs.
Yeah.
I remember us discussing whether or not that was indeed the Funtasia cliffs. I don't think I was completely convinced, but I guess it's plausible, so to
Yeah.
say. What we can say about the dimensions is that from the overhead views, it looks kind of similar to the dimensions that the early toy worlds have, in that they're the areas of that are, so to say, living spaces and whatnot for the fillies, like the buildings. They're quite large in comparison to the surrounding land. It's quite notable because the academy, it's very rather tall. It rises very highly above the land, and it doesn't look like there's that much surrounding space in comparison to the island, which is kind of weird because they get lost in forests and they get lost in caves. But where are these forests and caves exactly?
They're in different decoration files.
Yeah.
Blame the guy who made them. Well, I think there's, well, the caves are underground, so there's plenty of room for them. And the forests, well, I think I saw some forests. They may be behind the academy because we actually never saw space behind the academy.
We've never seen an overhead shot behind the academy.
Yeah.
We have seen some ground level shots behind it, but you don't really see much.
Oh yeah, the scene where Bella teaches everyone how to kick air. I think we see in the distance some trees, which may look like a forest, and I think that's where they will end up being in forest clips from Promo 3 or whatever.
Yeah, I would have to go back and take a look at the specific angles here and whatnot, because it doesn't really pop up into my head immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we get back to the wider question a bit, I guess, about the backstory of the characters and. Oh yeah, it was about the magazines originally, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is that some of the characters, I mean, this is another sidetrack, but it's kind of interesting, I think, how, when speaking about the relation between toy canon and cartoon canon, how Cedric's character was modified in the Royale re-release to be more similar to how he is in Funtasia.
Oh yeah, Cedric's character in Royale is pretty much the same character as in Princess, but with added details that are shown in Promo 5 of Funtasia, where he is sitting at the table and inventing something, and I don't think the Princess biography of him ever mentioned that, but Royale does, and that is very interesting because it implies that Cedric we see in Funtasia is actually from Royale and not from Princess, which may be good because Princess and Fairy aren't very fitting with what is today the Philly canon, be it toy canon or cartoon canon.
Yeah, and or if he's not from Royale, I mean, it could be possible that Royale wasn't even a thought in their head when they made it, but at the very least, it means that they updated his character, and when they made a toy re-release, so to say, or updated version, or whatever we want to call it, they took a look at, okay, what is his updated character, because in the original, I believe it's only mentioned that he sneaks out to do sword fights and whatnot, you know.
Oh yeah, even in the books, he's basically a knight. He just likes tournaments and helping damsels, I guess, and fighting.
That kind of stuff. I believe that that kind of stuff hasn't been mentioned in relation to him in Fantasia, but then again, we don't even have any spoken lines from him.
Yeah, he's the only character without any spoken lines.
of the main characters, of course.
If I'm to headcanon his voice, I'll make him sound like the guy who sings "Walk Through Life," just because.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I guess that would fit.
Yeah, just as a thank you, I guess, because "Walk Through Life" was a song that accompanied the first version of Promo 5, which just blew my mind. And
That was a good promo.
yeah, every single frame is in my mind right now. Just like watched that promo frame by frame multiple times. Well, anyway, that's not the question. Uh, the relationship between toy canon and cartoon canon, it might be strong because we have Philly Butterfly and Philly Stars specials that use a lot of elements from the corresponding toy lines. It's like you have mentionings of the kingdoms of butterflies and stars. You have characters from these toy lines, and you have some specifics such as the fact that Skylia, which is the Philly Stars kingdom, is split into two islands, and the fact that it's a rather unfriendly split is also mentioned there. And these two specials will be heavily based, well, would be heavily based on Butterfly and Stars. So this is probably the strongest connection between toy canon and cartoon canon we have right now.
Yeah, I would like to say concerning the two specials that it's kind of interesting to consider them, because if we look at what toy lines are represented in the main characters, I mean we have 5, right? And
Yeah.
it ends with Witchy, which is the latest one, and that was also the latest toy line when the initial trailer was released. I believe it was actually brand new, or maybe even slightly before it was released. And then if we look at the two specials, well, it's the two main toy lines that come immediately afterwards, which have not been advertised in Philly Funtasia to the same degree. Sure, we have Zack, who is actually from Stars, despite, Stars not even being the next, but the next after the next toy line at the time of the release of the initial trailer, which is weird. But it
Yeah.
kind of feels like, okay, we have advertised these 5 toy lines, so to say, or featured them if we want to be nicer. And now we can feature 2 more, let's do 2 specials. This, of course, it's also because BRB seems to like making specials of their shows recently. Invisimals had 2 specials, and they're making Bernard specials and whatnot, so I think it's...
Yeah, I have to argue about the butterfly inclusion in Philly Fantasia, because if you look at the Academy, it has a lot of inspiration from Butterfly, which mostly manifests in butterfly shapes, especially in the park. And that made me think that Butterflies built this Academy, and there. And if you look at the Philly Butterfly image that we mentioned earlier, you can see the butterfly ship, which is somewhat redesigned, but it has a tower on it, which is very, very similar to one of the buildings on the Academy. I don't know if the show was released in 2014, like it was advertised to. That would be very strange that this show comes out, and then the two toy lines that are vaguely connected to it, but not really. That's a very unusual way of handling things. I would expect them to make just Phil Fantasia toy line, just with all the characters, but they didn't.
That's kind of interesting about the butterfly. I hadn't I don't think I had considered that, but yeah, I guess that makes sense because then again, Stars is represented in a way with Zack. I guess if I am to speculate wildly, they may not have finalized the butterfly design, so perhaps they didn't want to include a butterfly character, but they still wanted the toy line to be represented and to make it easy to add it at a later date.
Oh yeah,
I think.
that sounds interesting. That actually makes me think about another possibility. If you remember, we had concept arts of Funtasia, and on these concept arts we had images of buildings that had words toy reference written on them.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it worked the other way around. It's like the architecture in Fantasia was used to design the Philly Butterfly toy series and not the other way around.
That's an intriguing possibility. It's certainly possible. Again, we can't really be sure because we don't have all the knowledge here, but it certainly sounds like something that would be possible at least.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would like to write articles about the Philly magazines like I did that one time a year ago, where I just spoiled the entire comic book. But I'm not sure if that's legal or not, because I'm just buying something for money and then scanning it and showing it to everyone, and that feels like something I should not do.
Oh, discussing legality here. Oh my god. Well, technically, I mean, a lot of things that we have done are not legal.
Well.
I mean, if we ignore what you're probably thinking about right now, I mean, we can go to the basic fact that you normally, I mean, images have copyright. You can't just copy an image without permission, and we have done so plenty of times.
Yeah. Well, at least our website has original imagery on it. Our header is drawn by a person.
It was drawn by the Miles, a very nice person, and we thank you for drawing that for us.
Yeah, thank you, Miles.
And what was I going to say? Now I lost my track. Oh yeah, about legality. I mean, here's the thing. If we scanned like entire magazines, then sure, they may have something to say about it. I mean, we have posted entire magazines several times. It's not just the time when you posted the scanned one. We also posted back in 2013. We posted 2 German magazines, which were translated. Kind of. I'm not actually sure who translated them. They were just translated by someone. I don't remember who translated them, but we did post 2 of them back then, and I do know that they kept a track of the website back then. I'm not sure if they do it now, but I know they looked at it then. So they definitely saw it, and they didn't send me a cease and desist. So I'm guessing that they thought, okay, these people they stole our stuff, but you know they're giving us good PR, so I guess it's worth it.
Or maybe you weren't just big enough to go after, because you don't just tell every single person to stop doing that. You usually pick someone big and send the cease and desist to them.
Yeah, but I do want to quickly point out that in the Philly fan world there really is no one who is big. We're pretty much all small.
Yeah. The biggest one in the Philly fandom is probably the Philly Club.
Yeah.
And after them it's us.
Yeah.
I guess. And after that it's
this is quite off topic, but
Yeah.
I don't really know how VK treats copyright takedowns. I mean, are they responsive to that?
I don't know.
Okay, let's not go into detail about that.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that I think reviewing magazines is an excellent idea. Perhaps in order to avoid angering them further, because we have already done a bunch of things to basically piss them off lately, including being a bit passive aggressive in our latest articles, we have to admit.
Mhm.
Maybe we shouldn't scan the entire thing this time. Maybe we should just scan some interesting parts and then describe the rest.
Yep.
To review them. That might be a better idea, because it's more accepted if you just include portions for review purposes. I think it's fairly accepted to do that.
Yeah, I think there's some percentage of footage you can use before it becomes infringement. I don't remember. It's like 30% or something.
Oh, that's quite a lot actually. I was expecting it to be less.
I'm not a legal guy. I don't know.
No, and then there's also the added complication of the fact that there's probably different laws in different countries, and if someone from Russia writes an article on a website hosted in America but owned by a Swedish person about a magazine that's published in Germany about a toy line that's owned by a Hong Kongese company and designed by Danes.
And the magazine is printed in the Ukraine.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's a local printer too. Oh my God! Look at all these countries involved. Then you have to untangle this legal mess. Just what?
Yeah. Anyway, well, I think that question is, well, not answered but discussed. I hope Greyfeather will be glad to hear all of this.
Yeah. Just to summarize, I mean, the magazines, they generally seem very self-consistent. I can't think of a case where the magazines have really contradicted themselves. And
Nope. They're all very, well, they barely do anything, so they don't have any possibility to contradict each other. But
I mean, most of them are like cute stories about the individual characters. And from what I've seen, again, I have read a minority of the magazines, quite a small part of them actually, because there are lots of them. But from what I have seen, the characters, I mean their personalities in the magazines, they seem to agree with their toy selves quite a lot, and the general setting seems to agree with the description of the general toy line as well. So yeah, I mean, I think we can consider the magazines canon pretty much.
well, yeah, because if we don't, then what is canon at that point?
Yeah, we can consider it canon, and we can consider it a resource to find out more about the Philly world, but with the caveat that most of what's in the magazines don't really tell us that much about the Philly world.
Yeah, it's a children's toy. You're supposed to fill in the blanks yourself when playing.
Of course, we have to remind ourselves about that sometimes, that this is for children actually.
Yeah, but it's a story nonetheless.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, question number 2 comes from Really?
Really?
Really? How long do we have to wait?
I'm assuming this is about the release date.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if we knew that, if we had an answer to this question.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a witty way to answer this, but I can't. It's like, no, just give it to us, please.
Yeah, it's we can't really be funny with it anymore. It's just sad in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, so the latest release date that we have seen is listed in the oh, what's it called again? That toy fair in that Italian toy fair. Oh, what's it called again? I don't remember the name again, but it was a toy fair which took place in late April, I believe, after MIP TV in Italy, and it had a catalog, and in that catalog Funtasia was listed, and Funtasia was listed as being released in either late 2016 or early 2017, and the original listing was in Italian, and I thought the English translation wasn't that great, so it was a bit ambiguous, because it could mean that the Italian release was earlier but the general release was later, or it could mean that the entire worldwide release was either in 2016 or early 2017. The language was pretty unclear, but that is the latest mention of an actual release date we have, and that's about half a year ago.
Yeah, and if we consider only the official release dates given by us from BRB themselves, we have, let's see, the latest one was the first one from from Promo 1, because everything else was from toy fairs and NIPCOMs and whatnot. It's like by other journalists and people who made
who run like licensing websites and whatnot. But to be fair here, those releases, those news articles, I mean, I have spent quite a lot of time reading them now in my slightly obsessive quest for more Funtasia information, and what I have learned is that those releases, there are a whole bunch of websites like Brandora and licensing news and whatnot that have these news articles, and they generally have the exact same news articles on all of these, because what they do is they take press releases and they basically post them unedited. That's what they basically do. So I think we can assume that at least some of these articles that have appeared on Brandora or whatnot are simply press releases that have been put out by either BRB or someone else involved in Funtasia production and basically posted completely unedited.
Yeah, we can assume that.
So I think that the latest date that we can consider unambiguous is that late 2016, which I believe, now I don't remember the exact source, but I believe that it was mentioned by a one of those press releases that look like they're basically just a copy of what the company has said. I mean, it's very obvious if you say that Philly is a resounding success and has blah 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 blah. I mean, that's not some piece of objective journalism, it's a press release which they have copied.
Yeah. Well, I have nothing to retort, but that doesn't really change anything.
No, I mean...
Yeah.
It doesn't really, I mean... The thing is that those websites like Brandora, they are aimed at people who are involved in the licensing industry in some way. So maybe they make merch, maybe they're distributors, something like that. They're not aimed at the general public. So if we look at the last...
Yeah, the general public, which is us.
Yeah, sure, I mean, we are part of the general public. I mean, sure, we're a somewhat obsessive part of the general public, but we're not really making any money from this, you know. Sure, my website has ads on it, but if I told everyone how little money comes from that, it's so sad. It doesn't even pay the costs for my Philly websites. How sad. Well, anyway, we can consider ourselves part of the general public, so to say, and I mean, these things are not really aimed at us. They're aimed at other companies, merch companies, distributors, whatnot. So 2014 would be the last release date in a release that was aimed at the general public. We can say that.
Yeah, we can say that.
The other stuff has been like estimates for other companies. That when can we expect to sell our merch for this new series? Oh, you can expect to begin selling it in late 2015. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, I'm guessing that there has been some problems with licensing deals, merc deals, distribution deals, and whatnot. There is no real evidence for this, but there has been a lot of circumstantial evidence to this.
Yeah, there's been something really big that has happened to Funtasia, and the problem is that we, as a general public, do not get to see that.
And they don't want to talk to us right now.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they might be somewhat annoyed by us, because we and people that we know have sent out a few emails and YouTube messages and Facebook messages and Twitter messages. All that's left is to start sending them messages on LinkedIn. I don't know, can you even do that? I have no idea. So yeah, I mean, the summary here is, how long do we have to wait? Answer, I wish I knew that. I wish I had an answer.
From now until forever.
From now until forever, yeah. I mean, that is a real possibility, that we could simply wait forever and that there is no announcement of cancellation ever. And that is a possibility which I have considered. A very sad possibility, but it is a possibility.
Yeah. Let's move on to the last question.
Yeah, so we can be a bit less sad.
Yeah, which is, well, comes from Caesarlight. Which would you prefer Funtasia to be? Centered on adventure and world building, or more personal slice of life tales?
Oh yeah.
Now we get to discuss what could have been.
Before, I would just like to make a quite relevant sidetrack, actually, because we have a bunch of synopsises. Synopsis? I don't know how it's pronounced. That was released in a document. And we can take a look at them to see, first of all, does it look like there will be more slice of life or adventure episodes based on what we know? So we have, first of all, described here. Here's where it begins. Let's see, Alone at Last, where Rose and Lynn are trapped in a dark forest. I mean, could we consider that an adventure episode? I don't know. We don't really know exactly what's happening in this dark forest. What we know is that Lynn is running through the dark forest and Rose comes to find her, and she finds her, and then there's a frog.
Oh yeah, there's a random frog that just watches them.
Yeah.
Well, we can be quite sure that this episode is about the characters. That may count as slice of life, because it's centered on who these characters are and how they behave in a situation that, well, it's probably not daily to be to be lost in the forest, although we don't know.
Yeah, it does feel like the show in general is kind of focused on the characters and their interests. It feels like a very character-focused show from what we know so far, and I do like that. But yeah, I guess we can consider that kind of not really an adventure episode. The next one described here is Liar Liar Prince of Fire, and that's most likely the famous one, which we see in the first promo with the cupcake monster. You might think that a monster, that's got to be an adventure episode, but then again, there is really no monster. It's about...
Well, yeah, it's about how telling lies is a bad thing, which is... The majority of this episode will take place in the academy, which I guess counts as slice of life for them, because there is an action sequence at the end, I think, when Bella gets trapped, allegedly.
Yeah.
Well, it's the show. The show seems to be just a slice of life with adventure elements in it.
Yeah, I mean, what we have been promised is that we would have excursions, so to say, to the different lands of the Philly world that are not Funtasia, and it kind of sounded like those episodes would be adventure episodes, and then we have the two specials, which sounded quite adventure-y, because first of all they're long specials, and I don't have their synopsis in front of me right now, but I believe they sounded quite adventure-y.
Oh yeah, well, Wranglum is in both of these specials, and there's a major focus on things going wrong in magical ways, and, well, almost saving the world levels of wrong. So these specials are definitely going to be an adventure style stories, and the slice of life will be more the show itself,
yeah,
rather than specials.
I'm not sure if we should go over all the episodes, but I'm looking here at the remaining 5 episodes here, and they all look like slice of life episodes to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, based on what we know, it seems like there's mostly going to be slice of life episodes in the show, while adventure episodes are represented in the specials, and I don't know, perhaps there's some kind of adventure episode in some kind of finale or something.
Yeah. Well, the finale is not... Well, it doesn't have to be some special episode. It might just be just an episode.
No, of course, we don't know how this show is going to handle it, because we have no idea what their finale is going to be. It's just speculating a bit. But, yeah, what do we want? What do we want?
Well...
You can go first.
Would I want Philly Fantasia to be slice of life or adventure? I would go with... Let's see, I would go with adventure, actually. Because I would like to see unique things in every episode. Because adventure implies that they're going on an adventure. They're going to face things that they don't normally face in their lives, which makes it different from slice of life. And that may be interesting because, according to the comic books at least, there are many random things in the Philly world that would be very fun to see in Philly Fantasia, if it was an adventure show.
That's a compelling argument. I was going to say that I do like the focus on the characters. I do like the stories where the characters interact. So I would have said that sure, slice of life. Let's go with that. But now I'm not sure. You may have convinced me. Because there is a lot of interesting things in the Philly world which we have not seen in Philly Fantasia yet. But yeah, I don't know. I would have liked to see a whole bunch of excursions to the different parts of the Philly world and see the things that are there. It doesn't need to be some super epic adventure with the lasers and stuff, you know.
Well, yeah, if Funtasia was an adventure show, we already have promo 4, which is basically an adventure promo.
Yeah.
A dark cave, a magic crystal, some very, well, ground level dangers. And
Yeah.
just Philly's going on an adventure and knowing each other better.
I mean, if the adventure is on that level, I would agree. It should be. I would be okay with it being a more adventure-focused show. I just don't want the laser stuff. I think that's a bit unnecessary.
Yeah. Though the specials may have them, but just a bit, because specials have some really big magic involved in them, and big magic usually involves a lot of special effects. So
Yeah. I mean, there is of course the fact that this is a three-dimensional show, and they have taken quite an effort to make 3D look nice. I mean, it looks very nice. So one could say, okay, we have this gorgeous 3D world. What do we do with it? Let's put a bunch of nice, cool particle effects and stuff in it, so it looks super amazeballs.
yeah.
So one might say it's a waste to not do things like that with the world, but I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows, no.
And there's a fair possibility nobody will ever know.
Yeah, I mean, did we address this in the beginning? Did we say whether or not we actually think it's cancelled?
Well, I personally think a lot of things, and I cannot decide, and I don't want to decide, because the fact of me deciding whether or not it's cancelled or not just does nothing. So I'm just sitting here and waiting. And while I'm waiting, I'm doing things that are, well, some things that are connected to Philly Funtasia, some that are not. Just living my life and seeing if this thing ever comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good attitude to take. It might be cancelled. It might be not. It might not be. You know, if there's no use in getting all bent out of shape over whether or not it's cancelled or not, I guess. I mean, I understand the frustration that people have. I mean, I have also felt a bit frustrated at times about this. But, you know, there's not a lot we can do to affect this. It's what I'm thinking about. I mean, if we... What can we really do, you know? There's nothing we really can do besides what we're currently doing, which is providing a bit of cheap PR for them. Although the PR recently has been pretty bad for them, I have to admit.
Yeah.
I mean, usually when... I mean, I have to admit, in the beginning, I was quite reluctant to write, so to say, negative stories about this franchise, because I knew that if one Googles Philly Funtasia, Funtasia Daily is hit number 1, and it has been hit number 1 for years now, and it has a disclaimer at the top that says this is a fan site by fans for fans, blah 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 blah, and I didn't just put that there for fun. I actually got emails from companies giving me business proposals about Philly Funtasia. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, it's the most visible and most informative, I guess, unless one counts the wiki. But the wiki is further down in the rankings. Philly Funtasia websites, which means that we have done their PR for them, so to say, and now the most visible Philly Funtasia website contains a bunch of stories about how Philly Funtasia is dying, which must be terrible PR for them if they are still trying to do PR.
Well, they got what they deserved, I guess. because they could have easily just said something about the BRB is very active on Facebook and Twitter. They post clips and images from their properties, uh, from pretty much any property that fits whatever the post is about, except for Funtasia. Funtasia is just not there at all.
Yeah, and what's weird about this is that it has been mentioned more than once. First of all, in an email, in the email exchange I had with a person working at Screen 21 back in 2014, I believe. And also, it has been mentioned in more than one press release that they would do a series of teasers and other online stuff, and it's even been mentioned once, I think, that they were going to do webisodes, and and they've never really done any of this stuff. I mean, the material that we have on Funtasia is, as in recent years, it has been stuff we've had to hunt down. It hasn't really been stuff that we've been given, except that one time in 2014, which I am very grateful for, and which I had hoped would be the beginning of a trend of them communicating, directly to us and giving us new images and stuff to post, so we didn't have to hunt stuff down. But that did not become a reality, unfortunately.
Yeah, the only stuff that they have given us directly or to the general public directly is a bunch of photos from MIP TV and the promos from MIPCOM. Everything else we found or we were sent by people that may have
found them in some way, that acquired this material, so to say. Leaving the rest unsaid here. But yeah, they BRB have been given plenty of time to respond by us. I mean, at this point, I have sent out, I think, half a dozen emails to various stakeholders in Funtasia during the last month or so, and so far I have gotten 0 replies. I mean, unless
you have one reply which says that there is no replies.
Yeah, that was on a Facebook message though, that was sent to the BRB Facebook page, and that one was quite notable because in most of these emails I tried to, be a bit more direct, like, hey, is production still ongoing or not, which is a rather direct question. But the person, I mean, this Facebook message that was sent just asked a very, very general question, which is, hey, do you have any news about Funtasia? And they said basically no. And then, interestingly enough, they removed it from their Facebook wall. They didn't want this question about Funtasia to be seen, which is a bit funny to me, even though they responded to it.
Well, it's a good thing they responded at all. They could have just deleted it and be done with it.
Yeah, I mean, if I am to be a bit cynical, it just feels like they wanted to send a message of, please stop bothering us, stop spamming us about this, we don't want to talk to you right now, or maybe ever. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we have been unfair to them, because first of all, a fan site needs to be able to report negative news about the thing they are fans of. I mean, it's almost like they have to do it if they are truly independent from the thing that they are fans of. Otherwise they would just be a PR outlet, an unpaid PR outlet. If you are an independent fan site, you need to be able to report negative news. And there's also the fact that, they have been given plenty of time to respond. I am quite sure that they have seen these messages. I'm quite sure that they have simply chosen not to reply. And if they have chosen not to reply, I mean, we have given them the opportunity to say something, and they have not taken the opportunity to say something. so we can just run with what we have. I mean, we would have given their perspective on it, obviously, if they had given us one, but they have not given us one, so what can we do? Yeah,
Nothing. We just sit and wait.
yeah, I mean, that's basically what we've been doing. So yeah, I mean, I guess the final thing that we said we were going to discuss that we haven't discussed yet is what we are going to do with this website we're running, and what we're going to do with it if this thing keeps being basically vaporware.
Well, we can move elsewhere, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, we still have Philly itself. We can report on news about Philly toys, like
Yeah.
about new releases, new distributions, and so on. But
Yeah, I had a discussion about that the other day actually, and when I said that I personally wanted to keep reporting about the toys and about the magazines, but that I did not think that simply information about that would really be enough to sustain that kind of website for long. I mean, we would have news. I mean, unless we want to report on every single magazine issue, which I don't think we want. I mean, I guess maybe we do, but I don't think so. Then we're not going to have that much to report on. So first I was thinking that, okay, we could, so to say, make a more general website about other franchises to succeed this website, and tell people that, hey, you like this Philly stuff? Well, we're going to talk about some other stuff similar to it on this website. But I sat down and thought about it, and I don't really think we would need a new website for that. I mean, we could basically continue with the current website. It would have a name referring to a show that never came out, if the worst became the worst. But website names don't really have to make sense. It would be a funny story, so to say. Yeah, I would like to continue this website. I would like to report on the toys and magazines, of course, but I think at some point, if we want to write like an article a month at least, or 2 articles a month, we do have to branch out and talk about some other stuff. And I do think, and I do hope, that people who are reading this website regularly would be interested in reading about stuff like that as well.
well, it's a catch-22 actually, because if you write about this stuff and it turns out that people are not interested in it, they will just get replaced by people who are interested.
Yeah.
Provided that there are no other websites that write about this stuff. So the only thing we need to make sure we do right is to find the thing that we're going to write about, and that will just automatically interest at least someone.
Yeah.
If you do our job right.
Yeah, definitely. We of course have to do proper research before we start writing, and I mean, it would have to be research both about what else do we start talking about, and just research about those things so we can sound knowledgeable about those things, because at this point we're pretty much experts on this Philly thing, right? We know so much about it, it's slightly ridiculous, and there is so much that we don't know, because it's a huge franchise when you really sit down and look at. I mean, recently we've been running an article series about the various toy lines, and we've mentioned so many, and we still missed some, which is amazing.
Yeah, there's another article that tells the overall number of Philly characters that exist, and it's like insanely crazy number. Let me find it. Uh,
Yeah, I did find it the other day, and
uh,
it made me slightly embarrassed because it actually mentioned the Philly wedding toy line that I forgot in the recent article. I looked at 3 different lists of toy lines, but I should have looked at the one that was on the very website that we're running.
yeah. In February 2015, there were 345 fillies.
Yeah.
And since then we got even more of them.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that he probably missed a few because there are so many. There are like toy exclusives. They have advent calendars every year where they have toy exclusives. They have a few fillies that only appear in the Philly Sammelband thingies. Sammelband? I'm not completely sure how to pronounce it in German. And there are so many different exclusives to various toys and obscure stuff that I'm pretty sure that we have missed something, you know. I would be very surprised if we have mentioned everything in either that article or our new article series or even on the Philly Wiki. I'm pretty sure that there's something that everyone has missed basically because it's a not really obscure toy that's not sold anymore.
Yeah, it's very hard to find information about Philly, and if people just say to us, "Oh, go read the wiki or something," like we actually, the majority of information on wiki came from people who are either us or worked with us on stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the wiki contributors, I mean, we basically know the people who are or have been active in this fandom. I mean, it's a very small community. I mean, I keep calling it a fandom, but I'm not sure what the definition of a fandom is because it's a very small community after all this.
A small community and a large toy line.
Yep.
Well, I think that's enough.
Yeah, I think so too. I guess the only thing left for us to discuss is whether or not we're going to do another one of these. I mean, I wasn't completely. I didn't want to promise. I didn't want to like call this episode 1 or something because that implies that there's going to be an episode 2. But I mean, I would be open to doing something like this again.
Yeah, I would be too. Just call it episode Philly Funtasia.
Episode Philly Funtasia. Yeah, I mean, we could basically, if you've listened to this entire thing, I don't even know how long we've been going at this point.
About an hour.
About an hour, that's crazy. Yeah. Wow, it doesn't really feel like an hour, but alright. I thought maybe like half an hour, but an hour, dang. Well, anyway, if you have listened to this entire super long thing and found it interesting, these crazy ramblings, and want to hear more, please let us know. And please tell us what you would like us to discuss in potential future episodes of this, which, I mean, potential future, I mean, we don't really have a schedule in mind. We don't really know when we would make a second episode, and I believe it's also contingent on having people who actually want to listen to this, because I'm not sure if people actually do want to listen to nerds rambling about this for an hour or not.
Oh, there are people who want to do that.
Well, I would.
Yeah. And I have done.
Yeah, well, fair enough. But yeah, basically let us know, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much it. Unless you have something to add further.
Nope, I think that's the end. We can wrap this up.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and yeah, please leave your feedback in the comments, either on, I guess we're posting this on YouTube, or on our article page, in the article about this, or you can also send stuff to us by email to fantasiadaily@gmail.com. That's Funtasia Daily without any spaces or underscores or anything, just plain. And yeah, just leave us either your feedback, or if you have anything interesting about Philly or Philly Funtasia or anything else really, just send it to us, and we're happy to hear from you.
Always happy.
Alright, thank you and see you soon.